Bongani Gosa, founder of BWD Advertising Agency. Such a pleasure to have you with us today. Talking about the theme of disruptors and disruption, you yourself, a young black man, moved into the advertising agency and established an institution at a time when it wasn't exactly easy to do so as a black individual. That's clearly a step into a disruptive system, shaking up things in the advertising industry.
No, definitely. I can say it's a bit of a disruptive thing that we did, although it took us about 11 years to get to where we are, because we started initially in 2006, maybe as a web design company, then evolved into a digital agency, then ultimately to where we are now, where we are at 360 Degrees Agency.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that the journey's been easy. Just recently, you had a billboard that some of your competitors took you to the Advertising Standards Authority for, where you expressed, that your entity is 100% black-owned.
Yeah, the billboard, I suppose, it just also, when we created the billboard, the idea was to get people talking, because Pepe Mares says that good advertising starts a conversation. So our billboard that says we're 100% black owned and something I bet at 100% was pretty much intended for that, to just start a conversation in the industry, get people talking, and then also just ignite that consciousness, black consciousness within black people that is there. Yeah.
That's obviously speaks to the theme regarding transformation as well as disruptive thinking and disruptive advertising. But talk to us about the marketing environment, where you can't just put up a billboard anymore, but there needs to be a disruptive element to the communication of your message, and how you achieve that.
I suppose how we achieve that, it's just mainly using a bit of research and a bit of creative thinking. And then, like I'm saying, our approach is to just start a conversation when we do our marketing, so that way then our marketing lives slightly longer than what we can pay for.
Is it easy though? Is that kind of disruptive thinking available in the market?
I would be lying if I say it's easy, because it requires a lot of thinking, and it takes a bit of time to come up with a good concept that just works. Yeah, so it's not easy at all.
Something else that's quite disruptive, especially in your fraternity and your background, is your step into entrepreneurship. And of course, that's quite difficult to do, especially when you don't have a solid support structure around you. How have you managed to navigate the environment, bearing in mind that you also have some co-founders who work with you at BWD?
The entrepreneurship part has been a little bit of, I suppose, like any other entrepreneur would say, it is a bit of a challenge, because what I did is that I started around when I was 16 years old. I was just mainly selling, so during school holidays I would sell cow dung to the... Oh,
so you're used to that culture? Of being an entrepreneur?
I started a little bit early. So 16 years I started selling cow dung in the community as like manure type of thing. So that's where I learned my sales skills. And then went to school, studied IT. After IT, started the digital agency. So then I took those sales skills, implemented them when I was selling like the digital services that we were doing. And then pretty much got to where we are now, which is about 11 years later. But I've always felt that should have had, even though I've started, say, at 16 years old, should I have had a mentor earlier into my career, I would have grown faster and quicker, because then the mentor would have pretty much fast-tracked my growth. So I suppose that's why I started the initiative called Each One Teach One, where what we pretty much do is that we find people that need mentorship, and then we match them up with mentors. Sometimes I'm the mentor myself, but if someone is in the construction industry, for argument's sake, I can't really give that person useful advice, then I would match them up with someone that's in the construction industry so that they grow faster.
You mentioned something so critical there regarding mentorship, because sometimes it takes a nudge in the right direction and some guidance for people to actually fast-track their development. But what does it also teach us about our networks? So often we hear that your network is your net worth. Has that proven to be true in your entrepreneurial journey?
It has, to some extent, but I suppose it's pretty much the entrepreneur's thinking or approach. So you need to put yourself out there. You need to go to these networking events. If you have like a rich uncle, you must visit them more often. No, it's honestly that simple, because hopefully then you will meet someone that can help you, stuff like that. So your network is pretty much still very important to your growth as an entrepreneur. Yeah.
Coming back to today's business context in South Africa, where we're faced with all these macroeconomic challenges, political uncertainty, How best do you see young entrepreneurs developing that mindset of disruption in the sectors that they look to step into? What do they need to do right in order to be true disruptors like you have been?
I'd say that the process pretty much starts with us entrepreneurs that have been there. We need to preach that message of entrepreneurship. We need to preach that message of changing the status quo, preach that message of disruption, so that they see it as normal. Because the issues that, because of our economic situation where we come from as black people, we're usually in a rush to catch up. So entrepreneurship is not necessarily the quickest way to catch up. The quickest way is to go to school, get a nice degree, get a nice job, and then be comfortable. But if we preach entrepreneurship as also an alternative, then we will get more and more entrepreneurs coming in. Yeah.
At the same time, whilst we all want to achieve those levels of success, there's also an element of discipline that needs to come in there.
No, discipline is definitely key, because without discipline, you can't really achieve anything. To also succeed as an entrepreneur, or to achieve whatever objective that you want to achieve, you need to be disciplined enough to work on your craft. So if you're a designer, you need to spend X amount of time per day just making sure that you're refining how you design. If you're a copywriter, exactly. So you need some kind of discipline for you to succeed. Without discipline, you can't be an expert. Or it'll take you twice or 3 or 5 times longer to become excellent at whatever you want to do.
To tie this back to our initial conversation about being a leading black-owned advertising agency with a very bold statement that you've made regarding your billboard and advertising for your own entity, it almost seems as though there's a tightrope, right? Being disciplined, but at the same time being bold enough to get your message across and being keen and willing to take any of the criticism, positive or negative, that might come about with it.
Discipline, I suppose it's something that I've practiced over the years, so I suppose maybe I do it even unaware that I'm doing it, because I've been doing it for like 11 years now. So, but I can say that to get to where we are now, discipline has been very important with regards to pretty much what we do and how we do things. Yeah.
Very necessary.
Yeah, because must also remember that the industry is not as welcoming to black-owned, black-run agencies. So we've also took it upon ourselves to kind of educate our clients about our issues as black-owned, black-run agencies, so that they know our struggles. Because remember, white agencies and black agencies have totally different problems. The MEC Charter, which is the Marketing, Advertising and Communications Charter, which was done last year, it pretty much addresses complications of white agencies, but black agencies are left out. So I suppose...
How so? What are some of the typical challenges there?
It would be transformation mainly. So transformation would be stuff like ownership of the agency. We don't have, as black agents, we don't have ownership problems because we're already 100% black. And staff training, maybe training black staff and stuff like that. We already have, the bulk of our staff is already black. So the challenges that are listed in the MEC Charter don't necessarily talk to us. They talk to white-owned agents. So I suppose it's then up to us as black-owned agencies to educate our clients to say, hey, we're here.
Exactly. Yeah. Use us. We've already surpassed some of those challenges.
100%.
Very briefly though, stealing an extra minute, I want to get your view as to how you look to disrupt going further as Bongani in your personal capacity, as well as the founder of BWD, especially in such a changing landscape where from a marketing and advertising perspective, it's no longer just about billboards and magazines, but social media as well and using influencers. How do you look to disrupt and continue on the path that you're on going forward?
I suppose it's pretty much our slogan. Our approach to disruption is pretty much we grow when you grow. So we help our clients grow. In the process, we help us to grow. So that's pretty much our approach to how we approach disruption. So with regards to either digital advertising, with PR, and pretty much anything that we do, we just think of how can we help our client grow faster, quicker, and at the lowest possible amount of budget. Yeah. So that's our approach to disruption.
Fantastic. Bongani, thank you so much for your time today as a founder of BWD Consulting. Very good, nice hearing your insight into the disruptive landscape in South Africa.